Hi, I'm Aharon Rabinowitz, Director of Communities at Red Giant and the Executive Producer for Red Giant Films. In this episode of Red Giant TV, we're going to take you behind the scenes of our new film, Spy vs. Guy, a film that was easily our most ambitious project to date. There was a whole lot to do and not a lot of time in which to do it. But for filmmakers, that's the old story. So, with no further ado, let's go behind the scenes of Spy vs. Guy.
Dance mode! Hi, I'm Seth Worley. I'm the director of Spy vs. Guy, and I'd like to welcome you to the behind the scenes. Here's how we did it.
Almost every film we do starts with a challenge. In the past, it's been a simple idea, show off certain kinds of visual effects or film looks. But this one, the idea was to show off Red Giant Bulletproof. Bulletproof allows you to back up your footage, organize it, play it back, color correct it, and then offload it to deliver the footage for editing. It's an extremely useful tool. It's just not necessarily easy to make interesting in a story. To make things even more challenging, we set out to do the entire thing in less than 2 months, with all post-production being over the course of only about 4 weeks. This is what we in the industry call stupid.
So we were telling our friends at Dell about Bulletproof and the film we were working on and how much work we had ahead of us, and they got really excited. They had seen some of our previous work like Tempo and Plot Device, and they were like, hey, how can we help you? And the next thing we know, they're sending us a bunch of computers.
Every year, Dell helps in the creation of some of Hollywood's biggest feature films, and we greatly value the importance of creativity in that process. The computer plays a critical role in helping the artist to tear down the boundaries between what they can imagine and what they can put on screen. And we designed our Dell Precision line of computers with that in mind. We saw the incredible storytelling that Red Giant was doing with shorts like Tempo and Plot Device, and we heard about their next big project, and we jumped at the chance to help make it happen.
So with Dell behind us, we knew that computing power wasn't going to be a problem on this film, which is always great to have one less worry on a big project like this.
Action! Then walks up.
We never ever set out to tell a story about software. Since Bulletproof is a product designed around the need to preserve and deliver valuable data, we thought Spy vs. Guy had really cool themes. It was a story built around the theme of losing something incredibly valuable and the measures one might go to recover it.
When I read how the CIA had created concealment coins that would hold microfilm and any other things you could hide in there, messages, and several spies proceeded to spend the coins accidentally, and there are coins out in circulation today. And I just thought that was inherently hilarious. A spy going out of the way to get this specially made concealment coin with very heightened classified information in it and then buying a Coke with it or something. Look at the machine. And talking with Micah Lanier, we had very similar sense of humor, and we just, through these discussions, came up with this idea of what if this guy accidentally activated some tech in a coin, like one of these coins that he got out of a Coke machine or something? Who would come after him? Well, what if it was a spy who came after him, and what if it became this Coyote Roadrunner situation where Guy was oblivious to the entire situation?
Art design is always a huge, huge part. Paul Conrad has been my art designer for the past couple films. We modeled a lot of it after actual gadgets and technology from the Cold War.
We wanted to stay away from a steampunk look, but give it more of a spy-fi look. And then we had to design the non-discernible bioinoculator Model 3, which is a big fancy name for dart gun. You know, he has to put this thing together, and of course he opens up the manual, and through age and time and weather, the most important instructions to put this thing together have all been, faded and washed away. So, comedy ensues.
With everything in the film, we're walking this tightrope of reality and exaggeration. It kind of was structured like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. There was so much of this actual, history that was so cool and actually, real. We wanted to, root it in that and try to grow to somewhere exaggerated and cartoonish. So during the Cold War, the US government put millions of dollars into this spy cat, tricked it out with all this gear, and then when they released it, it was immediately hit by a car. You don't have to write this. History just does this for you.
Usually, for the movies, we decide what the movie's going to be, we start writing the script, and then we kind of go through line by line and figure out what kind of props we need. We'll pull source images from the interwebs, and then I'll go to Home Depot and figure out how to make those things. But for this film, for the first time, we had a production designer. Paul was great because it actually balanced Seth and I out, because Seth and I usually go back and forth about what something should look like, and Paul's voice and the vision overall for everything really kind of settled us down and evened out all of those conversations.
We were specific about more things in this movie than we were in any films prior to this. And I credit that to, Paul and Neil, both. They were just exceptionally, they both heard my vision, my voice, but they took it farther than I could have possibly taken it. This project just had so many cool props, I felt like I didn't shoot any of them nearly enough. Like, no matter how much coverage I got of each prop, it wasn't enough at all.
Usually there is a hero prop. It is normally within the first, maybe second shot at the longest, in which Seth breaks the hero prop.
He makes the coolest stuff you've ever seen. I get it on set and just break it and drop it, shatter it. Not on purpose, just because I'm an idiot.
The absolutely incredible and legendary Steve Taylor agreed to play Old Spy.
We obviously modeled Steve after Gary Oldman from Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which Steve was really excited about from day one.
And my brother Ben played Young Spy. It works. We shot on Canon 5D Mark III. We recorded our audio and video separately, just like most do when recording on DSLRs. We shot 5 days over 2 weekends.
I'm the only one on the crew who does this full time. Everybody else has full-time jobs during the week. Which is important to know, just so you know, we're not a fully house production company sitting around making movies all the time. We're having to fit it in with our everyday lives.
Chris Adams was the director of photography, shot the movie, and it looks amazing.
We're managing, I think, to pull off that 1970s conspiracy thriller look.
So we had to make Nashville look like 1970 Washington, D.C. We managed to find some really cool locations. In fact, we found more locations than we even needed.
Bulletproof has been great because our editor has been able to, right there on set, organize all the shots, create proxies for us, do temporary color. It's been fantastic.
Editing was done on Premiere Pro on a Dell Precision workstation. That was an incredibly powerful machine and made the editing process much faster than I would have thought possible. Even though this is essentially a film with no dialogue, we still needed a bunch of the audio from the environment and different audio cues we were putting in, so we saved a ton of time later by syncing the audio and video with Pluralize for Windows.
Unexpectedly, I had to travel for about 2 weeks of post-production, and I was pretty concerned that without my desktops, I wasn't going to be able to keep up with the demands of our shot list. But then Dell sent us these mobile workstations that were just awesome. Fast 3D rendering, great playback speeds. I really couldn't have asked for more.
Post actually started before filming was done. Our visual effects work had to be fast, and it had to be furious. And so we used Red Giant products, as always. We used the Keying Suite for all of our compositing, Knoll Light Factory for all of our flares, and Magic Bullet for our color correction. Harry Frank did a lot of object removal using Mocha Pro and more. And of course, we're never above distracting you from our work by throwing in lens flares. For the 1970s sequence, we had to erase a lot of modern-day cars and even, put in the Capitol in the background. And all that was done with tracking and Mocha Pro. We used Element 3D for the missile. We used Revision FX Real Smart Motion Blur for adding motion blur to things like explosions or things we had sped up with Twixtor, certain like shots down the hallway in the missile silo. For these sequences where we cut to Russia, this Art Beats footage that I actually won at the Media Motion Ball at NAB last year. I mix a little bit of trap code particular for some extra snow and even more blizzardy look.
One of the coolest parts of my job is working with Red Giant's community of users. They're amazing. We have 20,000 followers on Twitter, and we've reached out in the past for help on a shot on a film, and our biggest problem has been turning away the amazing amount of talent that's come our way. And this film was no different. The script called for 2 vehicle explosions that I didn't think we were going to be able to pull off realistically on our own, so we asked the community for help. Coulter Digital responded that they'd love to take a crack at it. Among a lot of other cool stuff, they do a bunch of defense technology visualization, and we couldn't think of anyone better to help us blow cars up. In one shot, they first removed a 1965 Buick Riviera from the original plate and then replaced it with a 3D model that we picked up on TurboSquid for just a few bucks. The comp looks so good, you don't even notice that the car has been downgraded to a 1963 Riviera. Hey, that's what they had. In another sequence, we needed a van to explode and burn after it's hit by Spy's robotic pigeon. Coulter Digital did an amazing job on all of this in just a few days. When Seth told me that there was going to be a robotic pigeon that had to fly and grab things, I got a little nervous. We'd never done anything like that before, and I knew it was going to require serious 3D skills. But thankfully, our friends at GrayscaleGorilla.com were able to help. Grayscale Gorilla is an essential community website headed up by Nick Campbell and focused on training, tips, inspiration, and some fantastic tools for motion design in 3D. Nick suggested Chris Schmidt for the job of Pigeon Wrangler, and working with an inexpensive 3D model we got online and his awesome animation and modeling chops in Maxon Cinema 4D, Chris really delivered. At the same time that he was bringing our robotic pigeon to life, he was also helping us to destroy a soda machine with the defunct Russian missile. Without the help of Grayscale Gorilla, some of the best visual gags in the film might not have worked.
Ben is unbelievably talented, undeniably genius, and I'm not insecure about that at all.
My name is Ben Worley, and I am Seth's brother.
I know that he's been listening to a lot of Henry Mancini lately, and even before this project started, and he has been wanting to emulate that.
Eventually I landed on if like a Latin jazz band was the rhythm section for Henry Mancini's Spy score, and so so the rhythm section is just kind of going and having fun and grooving the whole time, and the orchestra's just trying to catch up and making all these, trying to be cinematic, and the Latin band's fighting it the whole time. This is the first film for Seth that I think that it really relied on the music to actually carry the story.
So if you notice, like when Spy in the prologue loses the coin and realizes it, it's not a comedy, cue or comedy beat. Musically, it's just a really exaggerated dramatic beat. That enhances the comedy.
Seth had this idea of doing the cachet theme, so every time the spy goes and gets a cachet, it has the same theme going underneath it. It's very subtle, but these two chords that rise. Each time, because he's getting more and more desperate, the music gets more and more desperate and more pissed off. And it became a challenge because it got to the point where the cachet theme was actually really obnoxious. Seth was very adamant about making it kind of modern by using the whole Munich-style sub-bass line drums thing.
It has this kind of percussive drive in the beginning that feels a lot like John Williams' score from Munich. Basically what I mean is we stole it from John Williams' score from Munich. And by we, I mean Ben. And by that I mean Sue Ben.
If there's anything I learned on this project, it's that there are two things that you need for a successful film: the right gear and the right people. And with Bulletproof giving us a much needed enhancement to our workflow, and Dell's machines doing the same for our processing power, and with a team of people like Neil Hoppy, Paul Conrad, Chris Adams, Aharon Rabinowitz, Harry Frank, Michael Lanier, Matt Hale, Steve Taylor, Chris Schmidt and all the Grayscale Gorilla guys, David Coulter and Coulter Digital, my brother Ben, and everybody that I'm forgetting, I was able to do my job with ease, because I surrounded myself with the best gear and the best people, and Neil.
Thanks so much for watching behind the scenes of Spy vs. Guy. This is our 5th film at Red Giant, and I won't kid you, there were times that it felt like we had gotten a little too ambitious. In fact, during production, Seth told me that if our jobs don't get more challenging each time, then we're probably not doing it right. And I think that's pretty true. Red Giant is a software company, but at the end of the day, as filmmakers ourselves, we know that while reliable cameras, computers, and applications are an essential part of the production process, making a film is not about hardware or software. It's about challenging yourself to create something that you're proud of. And thanks to an amazing cast and a dedicated crew operating all that hardware and software, we were able to do just that. We hope that you've enjoyed Spy vs. Guy and this look behind the scenes. But most of all, we hope that we've inspired you to pick up a camera, film something, and tell your story. Once again, I'm Aharon Rabinowitz for Red Giant TV. See you next time.